Hello, everybody. Welcome. My name is Margaret Pinard. You're on my channel. Welcome to Booktube. And it's a Wednesday wrap-up today. So, how many books do we have? It's been a busy week. There have been 2 driving days. Couldn't do much. A digging out the woodpile day. And catch up on a lot of other things. So we've got 2 books to wrap up and review for you today, but hopefully June will ramp up a bit more after that. One of them's a bit of a cheat, but that's okay. Welcome here. We do Wednesday wrap-ups and Sunday videos, productivity sprints or reading corner on Friday, and karaoke once a month on Saturdays. So if you're new here, feel free to subscribe for book reviews and AuthorTube content. I am coming off a month-long readathon. So one of the books is one that I didn't finish in time to include in that readathon, but I will go over a bit today. And the other is a lovely, comforting romance that I listened to on audiobook on that second driving day that I mentioned. So I had a question of the day. Did it not save it? No, I guess I didn't put it in here. Here we go. Question of the day for the people in the chat. Boom. Boom. I am currently in my hometown, so that's what my question is going to be about. What is your hometown known for? So feel free to chime in for that. And I'll say hello to everyone in the chat. R.C. Scott came by to smash the like button. Lovely to see you on a weekday. Thank you, friend. Leslie from Bookskers and Purrs, happy Wednesday. Richard Holiday is also here. A.F. Stewart saying hello. Cool Gamer saying hey. Thanks for chiming in. I've got music on, and usually I keep it on the setting 11, but it seemed louder, so it's down to 9. And I still am undecided whether it was distracting. So let me know if I should turn down the music. Okay, let's get started on our wrap-up. I'm going to say a few things about this one. This monstrosity. The Best of Frank O'Connor from Everyman's Library. It is like 680 pages, and here's where the cheating comes in. I got to the last 2 sections, and I was just like, I can't appreciate any more Frank O'Connor. I am at my saturation limit. So I really sort of scanned and skimmed. The last 2 sections were about experiences abroad that were filtered into short stories, and Last Things, which was like religious themes, and I'm happy to skip that. I may come back to him later, but like the first 540 pages I gave a fair amount of attention to, so I think I'm fairly qualified to say a few things about Frank O'Connor's writing. Okay, thank you, Richard. All right, so let's see. This is full of short stories, excerpts from his memoirs, and a few poems. He translated a few poems. And fun fact, one of the poems he translated was The Lament of Art O'Leary. And if you are a careful listener or another reader of Irish literature for the Irish Readathon, you may remember that that is the poetry kickoff epic poem that originally launched Doreen Negrifa onto her journey to write Ghost in the Throat, which is a Booktube darling, and you may have heard of from Aoife's channel or other Irish reading channels. I really liked Ghost in the Throat, but yeah, it kicked off with Doreen Negrifa's obsession with the translation from the Irish from like 17th century, I think, and the wife's reactions from Art O'Leary's death. It's very interesting. So he translated that. He also wrote a lot of short stories. And I appreciated some of them, felt lost in quite a lot of them. Uh, I did a little looking up his background and his legacy, and there is a Frank O'Connor festival in Cork, as well as a Frank O'Connor prize that was run for about 10 years um, in Cork, where he was from, and where my family hails from in Ireland. And that was pretty cool. So I really did get a little taste of uh, Western Ireland. I think we get a lot about Galway and a fair amount about the north, but not about many of the other counties, and Dublin, of course, but the other counties are sort of lumped in together. So this gave a very strong character vibe for Cork writers of the early 20th century in Ireland. And so that made me feel a little more connected to that character, those voices, and that way of life at that time, which was pretty neat. I marked down a few of the stories that left an impression in my 540 pages of close reading. Guests of the Nation was one that I was excited to read. That's the story that inspired a film as well as sort of fed into the Crying Game. It deals with people who are dealing with mixed loyalties for the Irish Civil War and World War I, and the British and the Irish, and being on the same side, but not, and like who you call enemy, basically. So that was interesting. It wasn't what I expected, and wasn't my favorite, but it's the most famous, so I thought I'd start with that one. There's another story with a great title called The Coronet Player Who Betrayed Ireland. And that one is about loyalties as well, but it's about local loyalties and basically how they filter down from national stages to local. And so this cornet player plays for a certain band, and everyone else in that band is for a certain local leader, which he is against. And it's told from the little boy's point of view, the son of this cornet player. And basically, it's him grappling with how you reach across the aisle and or how you show your integrity and loyalty and betrayal and what it all means in this little boy's view. So I thought that one was really poignant, really touching. There's a whole section about other Irish writers that Frank O'Connor hung around, and Frank O'Connor is actually a pen name, very close to Michael O'Donovan, so that was his real name. But he talks about W.B. Yeats. He talks about A.E., who is George Russell. He talks about James Joyce. He talks about James Stephens, who I also read for May of the Moderns. And I think there's another one. James Joyce, Yeats, Russell. There was another famous one in this era, but I'm forgetting. And so that was really cool. It was like a little gossip monger section, the Tatler of early 20th century Ireland. And I didn't know much about these writers at all, but like hearing them talk about each other and the little prefaces and introductions and sort of do eulogies for each other, like that let me know a little bit more about what they meant to each other or imagined each other to represent. And so that was pretty cool too. Then there were two more sections that I liked. There was one called Lonely Voices, because in the introduction to that section, which is, I don't think written by Julian Barnes, but the editor edited and, okay, so apparently, yes, the little intros are by Julian Barnes as well. He says that Frank O'Connor was known for his like portrayal of hidden loneliness in our modern lives, right? Big theme for the era. And there's one in here called Lonely Rock, which especially stayed with me. It was kind of addressing modern sensibilities and hypocrisy and our beliefs. This guy gets himself in a pickle because he flirts with a girl, gets her pregnant, and then ends up bringing her home to live with his wife. And you're like, what? And that changes the relationship with the wife, obviously. But his mother also lives with them, and they don't think she knows. And like, there's this whole weird dynamic about pride and dignity and I don't know. It's very interesting to see how that might have played out in his mind in that society. So very cool. And then one of the stories I loved was in the abroad section, which is dealing with his journeys to England and America. And it's called Darcy and the Land of Youth. And if you know Irish legend, he starts off the story with referencing the myth or legend of Oisin, who is the person who goes to the land of Tirnanog, but comes back for a day, falls off his horse, and like all the time that he's been in Tirnanog is gone by in a second, and he becomes an old man. So there are definitely parallels, and it was easier to see, whereas many of the other stories, the Cork voice was too strong. In Darcy and the Land of Youth, he really modernizes that feeling of being somewhere else and adopting that place's mores or sensibilities and then returning home and then kind of being stuck between. So if you've ever been in that position where perhaps you leave your hometown question of the day, and come back and you've changed, or you move to a new place and realize like, oh, I feel like a stranger here. I'm not adapted to this place. Like it was just a very interesting meditation on that, meditated through this Irish legend that was at the beginning. So I thought that was really cool too. But after 500 some odd pages, I need a break from Frank O'Connor. So I'm going to note these tabs and return it to the library and take a little break from our Irish writers of the 20th century, which I think I've earned. So yeah. So Richard's answered the question. See if anyone else can. I'm going to move on to the second book I have to review today, which gives me a chance to say we love Libro FM. So if you don't know, Libro.fm does audiobooks. Ta-da! And they are where I got today's second book, The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston, read by Eileen Stevens. So there's a lot to talk about here. Basically, I'll give content warnings. There's ghosts, there's grief, and there's some steamy scenes, but I would only give it like 2 chili peppers if that gives you as 2 out of 5. Some sort of scale for steamy scenes. But the premise is that the main character, Florence Day, is a disillusioned millennial ghostwriter. She gets called home for something urgent, and she has to confront her failures and missed opportunities in her life that have brought her to this disillusioned state. And I don't know, can you relate? So, it is very funny. So a lot of the things I love about this, the narrator does a great job acting the script, if you know what I mean. So like voice breaking or laughing at a point where someone laughs, the character does, and like changing voices for different characters. So I think Eileen Stevens, well done, and Ashley Poston, the author's part. So I loved the humor, like the awkwardness of the characters is a lot of the humor, and occasionally it got too much for me, but it was very funny for the most part. So there's that. There are puns. Thank you very much. And that is part of the romantic attraction. So that was obviously stellar for this reader. The male main character is super sweet and attentive. And she highlights several times where he pauses to think about what he's going to say to find the right words because he's an editor. And you're like, that's lovely. I love that detail. So I like that. Very sweet. The best friend was great. Supportive family, great. LGBTQ diversity representation, also fab. Southern hometown, we're on the topic of hometowns, appreciation, also great. Gothic overtones and like lots of irony and supernatural because there's ghosts, obviously. And then also on a serious note, the check-ins about how grief feels, because that's what calls for home, is that someone passes away. So you have some real emotional topics as well as really funny puns and witty repartee. So I thought this was a lovely balance. Um, and what was interesting is that with the Dead Romantics, there was a big twist that was pretty predictable from like way off, like 20% in, right? But I was wondering and wondering, is there a different twist? Is it not what I'm thinking? And then when I got to be 2 hours left, I was like, how are there 2 hours left in this audiobook? And then 1 hour left. I'm like, how is there 1 hour left? Like, because you think you know what's going to happen. But despite the fact that I was right about the twist, it rolled out in a very wonderful way, in a kind of like slow your roll, enjoy, savor the last few minutes, savor I don't know what the opposite of the meet cute is, like the end cute. And it came out really well. So I don't normally like things that are predictable, but the twist in this was not the only thing to look forward to at the end. So I thought it was very well planned. So yeah, so that's my like only sort of like flag for people. If they know they're not gonna like that, then watch out. But I really appreciated the ending, so it was nice. And then the only critique, like the opening is awkward, and there are a few points in the story where she has sort of like this interior questioning and goes in a spiral, but it doesn't feel connected to the greater grief picture or millennial angst picture. It just felt like a little overworked. But in general, 4.5 stars, like really, really good rom-com with ghostly heart. So yes, I recommend. Oh, I am late on comments. I am also being distracted by a very large crow at the top of our loquat tree. So this would be a good part to hopefully check back with people's question of the day. So I have, let's see if I can do this, if it's still in my overlay. It is. This is what my hometown is known for. Can anyone name what this is? I'll leave it up for a second. Let's see. Oh, Anita's answered the question. Emma Bennett has come into the chat. Hello, hello, hello. And RC is not hanging around, but did say hello, which is great. Oh my goodness! I gave up on the Dead Romantics after 2 chapters. Oh no! Well, I really liked it. And yeah, bummer. I saw some of the reviews said it started off slow, and I was like, I didn't think it started off slow. I thought it was pretty quick. Mission Revival. Nope, not Mission Revival. Is that a church or a railway station? It is a church, Richard. So this is one of the famous missions of California. It's got the date on it, 1772. That's when it was built. So not a revival, an actual California mission. So that's just what I thought I'd pop up there for my question of the day, and now we can get everyone else's. Oh, okay. So it wasn't a plot thing. It was the dead little boy in the Transformers t-shirt. Okay. Yeah. Ghosts of Children. I did put a content warning at the beginning when I said what's in the book. Valid. Okay, so Richard's answer of the day. John Major was born in the London borough of Sutton, where I live. Oh, okay. Is that the most famous thing? Sutton. I think of Sutton Hoo, which is like an archaeological find. Is that a different place? It's not in London. It's in the countryside. So it's probably a different place with a very similar name. There's a whole movie about it with Ralph Fiennes, which I really loved. Anita says, my hometown is probably best known for our Air Force Base. Okay. All right. I hope that's yielded something good for the community. And Emma Bennett says, my hometown is known for a big fire after a plague. Would that be London? Would that be London town? Nice. Yeah. Yeah, understandable. Okay, Sutton, who is in Norfolk. Got it. Okay. Well, similar. Thank you for clarifying. Yeah. So anyway, hope you enjoyed the hometown theme. I'm in my hometown, and here's something funny. I thought I'd start with this background. As you know, if you were on the last stream, the wallpaper means I'm in my brother's bedroom. But it's sort of an optical illusion because you can't see the ceiling or the floor, and it looks like this is a wall with like weird random wallpaper change in the middle. But if I move you, you can see, oh, it's a corner of the room. Isn't that crazy? I just endlessly entertain myself. So that's one side of the room with the hallway and the bookcase. There's the entrance. And as we rotate around, that's where I was looking from the last time, and I put the curtain over. So yeah, my mom did one of those special glow-in-the-dark wallpapers for my brother at some point. So that's why there's that cool wallpaper in the back. Fun, huh? Yeah, I love the wallpaper. And I also showed last time that there's constellations and glow-in-the-dark stickers on the ceiling too, and those still glow. The wallpaper does not, but the ceiling does. I am not sitting in a rocking chair. It's just a regular chair, but it's just an old like solid wood chair, which is hard to find in America these days. Did Richard know that? Making connections. So since I only had 2 books, I thought I'd chip in the other things that are happening this month for this video, which is that I've got a book club for Patreon. And if you're curious about joining, this month's read is The Witch's Heart by Genevieve Gornichek, which is almost like a complete cover buy, right? I got this with the hardcover sale at Barnes & Noble 2 years ago, I think. Men die, gods die, she lives on. Guess who it's about? Anyone know? Anyone want to guess? It's like a mythology retelling, as you can probably guess. Angraboda. Odin. Norse anthology. I forgot for a second. But yeah, so very excited to read a witchy tale. And if you're interested, bit.ly Patreon_MP4. That's my little link. But yeah, that's on my TBR/pile of possibilities for June. What else is? Well, as I told other folks like Roz at Scally Dandling and anyone on the last live stream, I'm hoping to read one of Jean Rhys's books because she is a British West Indian writer. She was almost going to be on May of the Moderns, but did not make it. So Voyage in the Dark was the one I was going to choose for this as like sort of semi-autobiographical about Jean Rhys. And that is for the Caribathon readathon, which happens in June and is run by Comfy Cozy Up. So we'll see. Conjure Women, been needing to read Afia Atakora's beautifully covered book as well. We've got some Need It off my ancient TBR list, Nora Ephron, Heartburn. It's a novel, not nonfiction. So I think that's what's stopped me in the past. We've got this old classic that I thought might still be interesting to read. Lewis, probably. Lewis E. Lomax explains the history behind freedom riders, sit-ins, prayer marches, the development and meaning of the racial protests sweeping America today. This is like so old and, original in my dad's library that I just have had it on my shelf and wanted to see it from a different era, from like the 60s. So there's that. Caribathon also spawning The Island Affair by Priscilla Oliveras. Excited. I mean, look at that gorgeous cover. That's like right down Emma's lane, up Emma's alley, something like that. But I thought that would be a nice romance to read while I'm off. And then a friend's book. So Singing Lessons for the Stylish Canary by Laura Stanfill. That would be a pride pick because I know she has some LGBTQA+ representation in this, and it's also historical, so that would be pretty cool. And then I just took this, Faye Weldon's Habits of the House. She passed away last year, and I meant to read it, and it's been sitting there. So, Caribathon, Pride, and June is also audiobook month. So, I've got my next audiobook from Libro.fm picked out. It's called Mortal Follies by Alexis Hall, and I'm super excited. That is a sapphic historical Regency romance. So yes, please. Yeah, so that's the extra. And then the last thing I have is an announcement, which is to say we have live karaoke this Saturday at our normal time. So unfortunately late for the Brits in the chat. But Barrett will be on my channel. I will welcome him on as my co-host of AuthorTubers Host Karaoke. I've put the link in the description if you want to put notifications so you don't forget. And I think we'll be singing Richard's song at this one. So tune in or watch the replay to find out. Let me catch up on the chat here. I want to live in that room. This room? My brother's old room that still has all his anime VHS tapes on the floor? Oh boy. Yeah. Very homesy. Yeah, lots of good covers this month. And Emma liked Heartburn. Good to know. I figured we'd drive away from that one. Yeah, right? Yes, this is the one I'm going to be practicing. Richard says he'll stay up for We Built This City. Yes. Ooh, Emma has not stopped singing Meredith Brooks. Okay. VHS tapes. I know. Right now, this is actually, the laptop is actually sitting on a reproduction old-timey radio, like from the 1940s, but it actually has a radio and a tape deck and a CD recorder. And yeah, so that's how we roll out here in my hometown. So anyway, yes, doesn't it? Norse mythology, it seems so good. So I'm very excited about that. But short broadcast today, just a couple books to start off June with, and then I'll be focusing on Caribathon, Pride Month reading, and audiobook month. So if any of those strike your fancy, join in, tell me what you're reading or listening to in the comments, and have a lovely week. Happy Wednesday, and take care of yourself, everyone. Happy reading. See you Saturday.